When someone throws words at you sharper than knives, when someone's actions wound your heart deeper than any blade, the first instinct is to strike back immediately. But remember this, the first reaction is rarely the wisest one. The first reaction is the voice of your ego. The delayed response can be the voice of your soul. My friends, life will never be free from hurt. People will misunderstand us, insult us, disappoint us, and sometimes even betray us. But the real test of our strength is not in how much hurt we receive, it is in how we respond to that hurt. God has given us an inner space, a sacred space where calmness resides. But in the rush of pain, we often forget that space and respond instantly, only to regret later. The wisest ones throughout time have always taught us this. Do not answer pain with pain, do not answer insult with insult, and do not answer anger with anger. Instead, pause, breathe, and allow God to guide your response. Because every time you delay your reaction, you open a doorway for wisdom, patience, and grace to walk in. A pause is not weakness, it is power. Often in life, we are taught to respond quickly, to never hold back, to always show our strength in the moment. But true strength is not about speed, it is about depth. Think about it. When someone insults you or hurts you, the first thing that rises within you is a wave of emotion. That emotion is fiery, it is unstable, and if you let it take charge, you will often end up saying or doing something that you regret. The pause is what stands between you and that regret. The pause is where you gather yourself, where you align with your higher self, and where you allow God's wisdom to flow instead of your anger. The pause is not a delay, it is your greatest protection. Consider a glass of muddy water. If you keep shaking it, the mud will keep swirling, and the water will stay unclear. But if you set the glass down and leave it for a while, the dirt settles at the bottom and the water becomes clear. This is what happens when you pause. The mind in the moment of hurt is like muddy water, shaken, disturbed, unclear. If you react instantly, you react from the mud. But if you pause, even for a little while, the dirt settles, clarity arises, and you can respond from purity. That pause is not weakness, it is clarity in disguise. In our daily lives, this truth plays out in so many ways. Imagine being at work and someone criticizes your effort harshly in front of others. The immediate urge is to defend, to argue, to snap back. But if you do, the situation often escalates and leaves both sides feeling worse. Instead, if you take a pause, you give yourself the gift of perspective. Perhaps later you will respond calmly, addressing the concern without hostility. Or perhaps you will realize the criticism said more about their stress than your performance. Either way, your pause gave you power over the situation. Without it, the situation would have controlled you. Think also of family relationships. In the closest bonds, emotions run deepest. A single word spoken in anger can hurt a loved one for years. Many people confess that their sharpest regrets come not from what was done to them, but from what they said in anger to someone they love. If we learn to pause in those heated moments, we protect not just ourselves, but also the relationships that mean the most to us. When you pause, you show love, patience, and understanding even when your heart is hurting. That pause is not silence, it is protection for your bond. Some might feel that pausing is letting the other person win. But in reality, pausing is victory over yourself. Anyone can scream, anyone can argue, anyone can throw back an insult. That is easy. But the one who can remain composed, the one who can stay centered, is far stronger. It is like a storm hitting a mountain. The storm rages, the winds howl, the rain pours down, but the mountain stands unmoved. Does that mean the mountain is weak? No. It means the mountain is powerful, rooted, and unshakable. Your pause makes you like that mountain. The storm of hurt will come, but you stand strong because you do not bend to every wind of emotion. The pause also allows God to enter your decision. When you stop before reacting, you create space, and in that space, divine wisdom can reach you. Many times we realize later, I wish I hadn't said that, or I wish I had handled that differently. But when you pause, you give God the chance to guide you before the words leave your lips, before the action leaves your hand. That pause is a silent prayer, an opening for higher guidance. And what comes through that space is always more beautiful than what comes from ego. Look at nature itself. The sun does not rush to rise, yet every morning it appears at the perfect time. The river does not rush to the ocean, yet it reaches without fail. The tree does not rush to bear fruit, yet in its own season it gives abundantly. In nature, everything powerful has patience, everything strong has rhythm, everything lasting knows how to pause. So why should we humans think that rushing to react shows our strength? It is in waiting, in pausing, that our true strength appears. Let us take an example from our own personal life. Imagine being in a traffic jam. Someone cuts you off, nearly causing an accident. The instant reaction is anger, honking, shouting. But what does that do? The other person may not even hear you, or worse, they may respond aggressively, and now both of you are caught in an endless chain of anger. But if you pause, you realize maybe they are rushing because of an emergency, maybe they are careless, or maybe they are just having a bad day. Your pause saves you from carrying that negativity into the rest of your day. It keeps your peace intact. Pausing is not about suppressing your feelings, it is about mastering them. Suppression is pushing emotions down. Mastery is choosing when and how to express them. When you pause, you don't ignore your feelings. You simply refuse to let them control you. And when you finally choose to respond, your response is measured, thoughtful, and wise. People who learn this art become respected not for how loud they are, but for how grounded they are. So the next time hurt comes, remember this: you are not weak if you don't respond immediately. You are not defeated if you hold back your words. You are not powerless if you stay silent. You are, in fact, the most powerful in that moment, because you are not letting the outside dictate your inside. You are showing that your strength comes not from reaction, but from restraint. That pause, my friends, is where wisdom lives, where dignity lives, and where God's guidance flows. It is not weakness, it is your greatest power. Hurt is a mirror, not a measure. When someone speaks words that cut deep or acts in a way that pierces your heart, our natural tendency is to think, maybe this is who I am, maybe I am not good enough, maybe I deserve this. But that is where we go wrong. The truth is, what others say or do is more often a reflection of their own inner state than a true measure of your worth. Imagine standing in front of a mirror that is cracked. The reflection you see will be distorted. If you take that distorted reflection as your real face, you will live in unnecessary pain. Similarly, when a hurtful person throws their brokenness at you, they are not revealing your true self. They are projecting their cracks onto your reflection. Think about a person walking around with anger inside them. Their words will be sharp, not because you deserve sharpness, but because that is what they are carrying. Someone filled with insecurity may belittle others, not because the others are small, but because they themselves feel small within. And someone burdened with jealousy may try to tear others down, not because those others are unworthy, but because they cannot bear to see someone else shine. If you absorb their words instantly, you are mistaking their mirror as your measure. You are letting their pain become your identity. But when you pause and recognize the truth, you realize this is about them, not me. That understanding is liberating. Consider a very simple example from daily life. A teacher, overwhelmed with stress, might scold a child harshly for a very small mistake. If the child believes the scolding as a measure of his ability, he may begin to think, I am not good enough, I can't do anything right. But the wise child, or perhaps the child guided by wise parents, will understand that the teacher's reaction was not really about him. It was about the teacher's own frustration. The scolding was a mirror of the teacher's stress, not a true measure of the child's potential. In the same way, in our lives, so many of the hurtful words we hear are reflections of others' struggles, not accurate measures of who we are. In families, this truth is even more important. Sometimes a parent, consumed with financial worries, may lash out at their children. Sometimes a spouse, overwhelmed with personal insecurities, may criticize the other. These words can be heavy if taken as truth. But if you see them as mirrors, you can separate their pain from your identity. Instead of reacting with equal hurt, you can respond with compassion, knowing that they are bleeding internally and their words are simply an overflow of that wound. This shift of perspective does not excuse bad behavior, but it protects your inner self from unnecessary scars. The world is full of people carrying their own battles, and every battle leaves its mark. Some people carry loneliness, some carry rejection, some carry anger, some carry fear. Whatever they carry shows up in their behavior, in their words, in their actions. To take their hurt as your measure is like looking into a foggy mirror and believing that is your true face. But you, your essence, your soul, are not defined by their broken reflections. You are defined by the divine spark within you, the eternal truth that God has placed inside. Even in the workplace, we can see this principle at play. Imagine a colleague who constantly criticizes your ideas. If you absorb it, you might feel, I am not creative, I am not capable. But if you look deeper, you might realize that this colleague feels threatened by your potential or perhaps struggles with self-worth. Their criticism is more about their inner fear than your ability. If you take it as a measure, you will shrink. But if you see it as a mirror, you will grow stronger, because you will no longer be trapped by their opinion. There's a saying, people throw what they carry. If someone is carrying flowers, they will offer fragrance. If someone is carrying fire, they will throw sparks. If someone is carrying bitterness, they will spit poison. But none of this is about you, it is about them. To confuse what they carry with what you are is to hand over your peace into their unstable hands. True wisdom is to recognize this is a mirror of their state, not a measure of my value. And what about those times when someone close to us speaks harshly? Those words often sting the most. But even then, when you remember that their words come from their emotional state, you soften. Perhaps they are tired. Perhaps they are wounded from something else. Perhaps they are simply struggling with life. Instead of reacting instantly, you realize their pain has nothing to do with your worth. You see the mirror clearly and stop mistaking it for a measurement of you. This understanding is not just a shield, it is also a path to compassion. When you no longer take people's words as a direct definition of you, you are able to see their struggle. Instead of responding with anger, you may respond with empathy. Instead of defending your worth, you may silently affirm within, I know who I am, and I do not need to be measured by this broken mirror. And in that moment, you rise above the cycle of hurt. You stop passing the pain forward, and you start becoming a source of peace. So whenever hurt comes your way, remember this truth. What someone says about you reveals more about them than it does about you. Do not let their mirror define your measure. You are far greater, far deeper, and far more sacred than the reflection they show. When you see this clearly, their words lose the power to control you, and you reclaim your power to define yourself not by their wounds, but by your own connection with God, your own truth, your own light. Silence heals more than words can defend. In the moment of hurt, our tongues become restless, our minds race with arguments, our hearts burn with the desire to prove ourselves right. But the truth is, when we rush to speak in that storm, our words are often like sparks thrown into dry grass. They ignite fires that become hard to control. Silence, on the other hand, is like water. It cools, it calms, it soothes, and it heals. Many people mistake silence for weakness, thinking that if they don't speak immediately, they are somehow defeated. But silence is not defeat, silence is mastery. It is the shield that protects your dignity and the balm that heals both your wounds and those of others. Think of daily life. Someone cuts you off in a conversation, dismisses your idea, or even mocks you in front of others. Instantly, the urge is to defend, to explain, to raise your voice so that no one misunderstands you. Yet, the more you speak in that heated moment, the less you are actually understood. The louder the noise, the less truth can be heard. But if you remain silent, if you choose to let the moment pass without feeding it, your silence becomes a statement louder than any words. It says, I am bigger than this moment. I do not need to lower myself to every insult. I value my peace more than proving myself. That kind of silence is powerful. It disarms the other person and protects your own inner calm. Consider the relationship between a parent and child. A child throws a tantrum, screaming, shouting, saying things they don't mean. If the parent responds with equal shouting, the situation only grows worse. But wise parents often stay silent, letting the storm pass before speaking. And once the child calms down, the parent's words are heard more clearly. The silence in that heated moment was not neglect, it was wisdom. It gave space for the emotions to settle so that true communication could happen. The same principle applies to us. When someone's anger rains down upon us, silence gives the situation space to cool, so that later, when the heart is calmer, words can flow in a way that actually heals. In the workplace, too, silence can be a powerful teacher. Imagine your boss criticizes you unfairly in front of colleagues. If you argue back immediately, you may win a small point, but lose your peace and even damage your professional image. But if you choose silence in that moment, you not only keep your composure, but also send a silent message of maturity. Later, in private, you may clarify your side calmly, and your dignity will speak louder than any defense you could have given in that heated room. Silence, in this way, saves you from unnecessary battles and preserves your energy for the conversations that actually matter. Silence also teaches us the art of reflection. Many times when hurt comes, our first instinct is to answer back, but later we realize we misunderstood or that the situation wasn't as serious as it seemed. If we had spoken instantly, our words might have caused unnecessary damage. But silence gives us time to process, to reflect, to ask ourselves, is this worth responding to? Is this really about me? Is this the right time? Often after a pause of silence, we realize the best response is no response at all. And in choosing silence, we free ourselves from chains of endless arguments. Think also of nature. The most powerful forces are often the quietest. The sun rises silently, yet it gives light to the entire world. The river flows silently, yet it carves valleys and shapes landscapes. Trees grow silently, yet they provide shelter and nourishment for countless beings. In the same way, our silence is not emptiness, it is quiet strength that nurtures peace and shapes the environment around us. When we speak less in anger and remain silent, our presence itself becomes calming, like a gentle breeze that cools a heated room. Silence is also a form of respect, not for the person who hurt us, but for ourselves. It shows that we value our energy too much to waste it on meaningless arguments. It shows that we respect the sacredness of our own heart by not filling it with unnecessary noise. When we remain silent, we step out of the battlefield that others try to drag us into. We rise above, and in that rising, we gain the freedom to live without being constantly disturbed by others' actions. There is also a deep spiritual truth hidden in silence. Silence is the language of God. When we are silent, we can hear the whispers of wisdom that are drowned out by the noise of arguments. Silence opens the door to inner guidance. Many saints and sages lived much of their lives in silence, not because they had nothing to say, but because they understood that silence speaks directly to the soul. When we practice silence in moments of hurt, we align ourselves with that higher wisdom. Our silence becomes prayer, our restraint becomes meditation, and our composure becomes a reflection of the divine within us. Let us take a personal example. Imagine you are at home and someone close to you lashes out unfairly. Your immediate instinct is to respond, to remind them of all the times you have been right, to point out their mistakes. But if you hold back, remain silent, and let the wave pass, something surprising happens. Later, when the person reflects, they may feel the weight of their own words. Your silence becomes a mirror for them, forcing them to hear themselves clearly. Many times, silence is the greatest teacher, not for you but for the one who tried to hurt you. So, silence is not about losing your voice. It is about choosing when your voice will have the greatest impact. Silence is not about letting others walk over you. It is about standing so tall that their words cannot even reach you. Silence is not emptiness. It is fullness, it is presence, it is wisdom. And most importantly, silence is healing. It heals the wound that could be worsened by careless words. It heals relationships that could be broken by unnecessary arguments. And it heals the heart by keeping it free from the poison of anger. The next time you are hurt, remember this. You don't have to answer every word. You don't have to fight every battle. And you don't have to defend yourself in every moment. Sometimes silence is the most powerful answer you can give. And in that silence you will find peace, strength, and healing far greater than anything words could ever achieve. Every hurt carries a hidden lesson. At first glance, pain feels like an enemy. It comes uninvited, disrupts our peace, and leaves us wondering, why me? But if we step back and look deeper, we realize that every wound hides a seed of wisdom. Life never wastes an experience, even in hurt. There is a silent teacher waiting to be discovered. The problem is that when hurt strikes, most of us react instantly, drowning in anger or sadness, and in that rush, we miss the lesson. But when we pause, reflect, and allow God's presence to guide us, we begin to see the gift hidden inside the pain. Think about the first time you touched fire as a child. The burn was painful, but the lesson was priceless. It taught you respect for heat. It taught you boundaries. It taught you awareness. Without that hurt, you would not have carried that wisdom forward. Similarly, in life, every emotional burn teaches us something. Someone's betrayal might hurt deeply, but it teaches you who truly values you. A failure might sting, but it teaches you humility, resilience, and the art of trying again. A harsh criticism might break your confidence for a moment, but it sharpens your skills and helps you grow stronger. Hurt is never wasted, it is a messenger carrying wisdom, if only we are willing to listen. In daily life, this truth is always present. Imagine working hard on a project at work only to have your idea rejected. The hurt is sharp, you feel unrecognized and undervalued. But if you reflect instead of reacting, you may find the lesson. Maybe it's teaching you the importance of presenting your ideas more clearly. Maybe it's guiding you to develop resilience, to not attach your identity to one outcome. Or maybe it's reminding you that your worth is not dependent on others' approval. The pain may be temporary, but the lesson can serve you for a lifetime. In relationships too, hurt can be a great teacher. Perhaps a friend you trusted deeply walks away without explanation. The immediate wound feels unbearable, and the mind questions everything. But over time, when you reflect, you realize that people are not always meant to stay, and that true friendship is measured not in promises, but in actions. The hurt teaches you discernment. It helps you recognize which bonds are real and which are temporary. Without that lesson, you may have invested your energy in places that could never truly nourish your soul. Even strangers can deliver lessons through hurt. A rude remark from someone you hardly know can sting, but when you pause, you may realize that it teaches you patience, or perhaps it reveals how easily your peace can be disturbed by small things. That lesson pushes you to grow stronger, to anchor yourself so deeply in your inner calm that no passing stranger can take it away. Sometimes God uses even the smallest incidents of hurt to show us where we need to grow. Nature, too, is a master teacher of this truth. The seed must first break before it becomes a tree. The earth must endure storms before it grows fertile again. Even the oyster is hurt by the grain of sand, but that very irritation produces a pearl. In the same way, every hurt in your life is like that grain of sand. It irritates, it unsettles, but if you hold it with patience, it transforms into something precious within you. The greatest wisdom, the deepest compassion, and the strongest resilience are often born from the very pains we once wished we never had. One of the most powerful things hurt teaches us is empathy. Until you have been betrayed, you may not truly understand another's heartbreak. Until you have been rejected, you may not fully grasp another's loneliness. Until you have failed, you may not truly value the courage it takes to rise again. Hurt connects us to the human experience. It softens our hearts, and it makes us more compassionate toward others. Without hurt, we might remain arrogant, dismissive, or indifferent. With hurt, we begin to see ourselves in others, and we become instruments of healing. Hurt also teaches us about our own strength. Many times, we think we cannot survive certain pains. We say, if this happens to me, I could never handle it. But then life happens, and we endure, we carry on, and we realize that we are far stronger than we ever believed. Every hurt becomes proof of your resilience. Every scar becomes a reminder that you overcame something you once thought impossible. That lesson, that you can bend but not break, is one of the most empowering truths life can give you. But here is the key. The lesson of hurt is only revealed to those who pause before reacting. If you only respond with anger, if you only react with bitterness, you remain stuck in the pain and never see the wisdom hidden within. It is like a locked treasure chest. If you don't stop to open it, you will never find the jewel inside. Reflection is the key that unlocks the lesson. Asking yourself, what is this hurt trying to teach me? What is God showing me through this experience? Is how you transform pain into wisdom. In your daily routine, practice this whenever you are hurt. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this teaching me? That single shift changes the way you experience life. Suddenly, every difficulty becomes an opportunity. Every pain becomes a classroom. Every hurt becomes a stepping stone toward growth. And the more you practice this, the more resilient, wise, and compassionate you become. So, my friends, do not curse your hurt. Do not waste your pain. Look into it deeply, and you will find a lesson waiting for you. Every hurt carries wisdom. Every scar carries a story, and every painful moment carries the potential to transform you into a stronger, wiser, and more compassionate soul. The pain may be temporary, but the lesson is eternal. And once you learn to see hurt as a teacher, you will never again be defeated by it. You will be elevated by it.